Hello you over 267,000 members of the Brohirrim and all of you who haven't subscribed yet. Imagine ruling one of the most powerful groups of elves in Middle-earth. You'd think that would come with certain perks, right? Fame, glory, maybe even a bit of peace. But if you're High King of the Noldor, history has proven otherwise. Let's just say the High Kings didn't exactly get the happily ever afters. Their lives, while legendary and often glorious, were tragically marked by loss, betrayal, and ultimately untimely deaths. So today we're asking, was being High King of the Noldor a curse?
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
He passed over Dor Newfauglith like a wind amid the dust, and all that beheld his onset fled in amaze, thinking that Arome himself was come. For a great madness of rage was upon him, so that his eyes shone like the eyes of the Valar. Thus he came alone to Angban's gates, and he sounded his horn, and smote once more upon the brazen doors, and challenged Morgoth to come forth to single combat. And Morgoth came. That was the last time in those wars that he passed the doors of his stronghold, and it is said that he took not the challenge willingly, for though his might was greatest of all in this world, alone of the Valar he knew fear. But he could not now deny the challenge before the face of his captains, for the rocks rang with the shrill music of Fingolfin's horn, and his voice came keen and clear down into the depths of Angband. And Fingolfin named Morgoth Craven and Lord of Slaves. Therefore Morgoth came, climbing slowly from his subterranean throne, and the rumour of his feet was like thunder underground. And he issued forth clad in black armour, and he stood before the king like a tower, iron-crowned, and his vast shield, sable and blazoned, cast a shadow over him like a storm cloud. But Fingolfin gleamed beneath it as a star, for his mail was overlaid with silver, and his blue shield was set with crystals, and he drew his sword Ringil, that glittered like ice. To understand the High Kings, we have to start with their roots. The early days of the Noldor under their first leader Finwe in Valinor. Finwe was a wise and beloved leader, the founding stone, if you will, of the Noldor's legacy. Under him the Noldor thrived, mastering crafts, seeking knowledge, and building their kingdom in the Blessed Realm. But like most things in Tolkien's world, this peace was doomed to be short-lived. Finwe's own son, Feanor, would unwittingly plant the seeds of tragedy for generations to come. Now Feanor, brilliant, fiery, and determined, was the creator of the Silmarils, the most precious jewels in all of Middle-earth. But when Morgoth stole these jewels, Feanor was consumed by vengeance. With his burning speeches and relentless passion, he rallied many Noldor to leave the safety of Valinor and pursue Morgoth. And so began the fateful exile of the Noldor, an event that set the stage for the coming High Kings and that so-called curse that they'd inherit. First we have Fingolfin, half-brother to Feanor and the first true High King of the Noldor in Middle-earth. Now Fingolfin didn't set out to become a king in exile, but determined to keep his people united, he crossed the treacherous Helcaraxe, a wasteland of grinding ice, with his followers, all to reach Middle-earth. It was no easy journey, but it cemented his role as a bold and resilient leader. Once arrived, Fingolfin established a kingdom in Hithlum, and became a key figure in holding back Morgoth's forces. He fought valiantly for centuries, until one day, overcome by despair after seeing his people suffer, he rode alone to the gates of Angband and challenged Morgoth himself to single combat. This is the quote we looked at the very beginning. The duel was legendary. Fingolfin dealt Morgoth wounds that would never fully heal, but he paid the ultimate price, dying on the battlefield. Some say it was a noble sacrifice. Others might say it was fate's way of foreshadowing that the High Kingship wasn't for the faint-hearted. Either way, Fingolfin's end was tragic, a brave yet bittersweet opening act for the High Kings. Next in line was Fingon, Fingolfin's son, and a figure renowned for his bravery and optimism. He was already a hero by the time he became High King, famously rescuing his cousin Maethros from the captivity of Morgoth. This act helped mend the bitter divide between the House of Fingolfin and the House of Feanor, which, let's face it, was no small feat. Fingon's rule was marked by the spirit of unity and his willingness to forge alliances. But as High King, Fingon faced the growing might of Morgoth. In the catastrophic battle of the Nahar-Doa, or the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, he led his people with courage even though they were outmatched. In a tragic end fitting for a Noldoran king, he faced Gothmog, Lord of Balrogs, in battle. Fingon fought valiantly, but was ultimately slain. A hero's death, yes, but one that followed the pattern. No peace, no happy ending, just tragedy. At this point, the title High King might have started to feel like a cursed crown. Then we have Turgon, Fingon's brother, and the founder of Gondolin, the Hidden City. Turgon was different from his predecessors. He valued secrecy and protection over open war, and so poured his efforts into building Gondolin as a refuge, hidden from Morgoth's sight. For centuries, he managed to protect his people, and Gondolin became a symbol of hope for the Noldor. But even a secret city couldn't escape fate. Turgon was warned by the Valar Olmo to leave Gondolin before it was discovered. But Turgon, proud of his kingdom and trusting in its defences, refused. Eventually, Gondolin was betrayed by his own nephew Maeglin and destroyed. Turgon died defending his city, a final tragic stand that mirrored his father's. It seems that even hiding in a secret city wasn't enough to escape the High King's curse. And finally we have Gil-galad, the last and arguably most enduring of the High Kings. Ruling from Lindon in the Second Age, Gil-galad was wise and steady, an ally to the Dunedain and a key figure in the struggle against Sauron. With Elrond as his lieutenant, he led the last alliance of elves and men, a partnership that held Morgoth's successor Sauron at bay. But even Gil-galad wasn't immune to the curse. In the final siege against Sauron, Gil-galad fought bravely but was ultimately struck down alongside Elendil, and this was in single combat against the Dark Lord. And with his death, the line of the High Kings ended. The elves lost their last great leader in Middle-earth. It's almost as if fate decided that the Noldor's time as a ruling power had come to an end, with Gil-galad's death marking the close of the High Kingship for good. So, was there truly a curse to being High King of the Noldor? Each High King, Fingolfin, Fingon, Turgon and Gil-galad, met a tragic end, sacrificing themselves in the battles against darkness. Their legacies are undeniably heroic, but their lives seem defined by a relentless pattern. To gain the title of High King was to accept a fate that bound them to die in defense of their people. Their sacrifices and struggles kept their kingdoms safe, but at a tremendous personal cost. But why, then, did no one claim the title after Gil-galad? One answer could be that the elves who remained saw the burden this title carried and understood that their time as rulers, bound to the fates of Middle-earth's great conflicts, had come to an end. Without a High King, the Noldor were no longer chained to a cycle of tragic heroism. Figures like Elrond and Galadriel wielded influence in more subtle ways, as wise guides rather than kings. They were no longer fighting for the Noldor's dominance in Middle-earth, but rather for a future in which all peoples could find peace. In that sense, perhaps the curse of the High Kingship wasn't the title itself, but the unyielding devotion to those who bore it. They fought, sacrificed, and died not for their own glory, but to fulfill their roles as guardians of the Noldor, facing powers that were far beyond them. And so there we have it. Was being High King of the Noldor truly a curse? The evidence certainly points that way. Every High King faced incredible challenges and met a tragic end, living out a cycle of duty, loss, and sacrifice that became the legacy of the title itself. Yet, these kings left a lasting mark on Middle-earth. Their bravery, wisdom, and sacrifice protected their people and inspired those who followed, even though the title itself faded away. By stepping away from the High Kingship, the later Noldor leaders allowed the legacy of the kings to become a story rather than an expectation. Perhaps in leaving the title unclaimed, they found a kind of peace that had eluded those kings who had ruled before them. At the end of the day, the High Kings of the Noldor lived lives that were larger than life, full of honour and valour, yet shadowed by doom. Whether by fate, curse, or simply the weight of responsibility, they took on the ultimate duty of protecting their people. And so, they remain legendary, inspiring a reverence that reminds us, sometimes, greatness demands a price, one that only a few are willing or destined to pay. And I would also like to take a moment at the end of this video today to give you a quick update on The Guard, the short film that we are creating. Everything is going amazing. We have just shot block 2 and the rest of it should hopefully be shot soon too. As always, it is all the money from our Patreon that is funding this. In essence, it is a no budget production if you consider the large scale of film, but every pound that you give is a massive help to create an incredible story. I'm putting a couple of shots on screen now and some behind the scenes clips to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So if you would like to help support it a little bit more to help push us over the line, then please check out our Patreon. Every little bit really helps. And with that, now it is time for my question of the day, which is, if you had the chance, would you have taken on the title of High King of the Noldor despite the risks? Or would you have followed a different path? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. And now it is time to give a massive thank you to our patrons who continue to support the channel. You are all amazing. And if you have reached the very end of this video with me today and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It would massively help us out. And why not drop a like on the video as well? And with that, all I can say is, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.